Paul's mission work certainly took him to a number of places, and he would stay at places and then feel compelled, or the Lord would direct him to go elsewhere. Eventually, of course, he leaves the city of Corinth and he goes to Ephesus. But he's briefly at Ephesus, and the Bible narrates, Paul, having remained many days longer, referring to Corinth, took leave of the brethren and put out to sea for Syria, and with him were Priscilla and Aquila. In Cenchrea, he had his hair cut, for he was keeping a vow. They came to Ephesus, and he left them there. Now he himself entered the synagogue and reasoned with the Jews, and when they asked him to stay for a longer time, he did not consent, but taking leave of them and saying, I will return to you again if God wills, he set sail from Ephesus. And then he makes his way to Jerusalem and then back to Antioch, and eventually then he's going to make his way back. And so as he returns, the Bible narrates that he goes through the upper part, the central part of Turkey, or Asia Minor. It happened that while Apollos was at Corinth, the Bible has narrated some intervening events, Paul passed through the upper country and came to Ephesus and found some disciples. This time Paul's going to stay there a while. Ephesus was a fascinating city. The ruins there are fascinating. It becomes a huge population center. Some have estimated a population of about 200,000 people. And again, why would this be something so significant? Well, like so many cities, if they are situated in a trade intersection location, that often contributes to the economic growth of the town. And that's exactly the case with Ephesus. It sits on an east-west corridor of a valley that enters into the central part of Turkey, facilitating trade going in the east-west direction, but it's also along the coast, facilitating a north-south kind of intersection. And with this location, and with the image that fell from heaven, to which the text refers in Acts 19, the city of Ephesus becomes a focal point of concern economically as well as religiously. Ephesus was the location of one of those 7 wonders of the ancient world. Most notably for most of us, the most prominent of those 7 wonders would be the pyramids in Egypt. Obviously massive structures that cause us to stand in awe at how they built them, the size of them, and so forth and so on. And the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus is sort of in that category. Now, if you visit Ephesus today, the remnants of the Temple of Artemis are quite unimpressive. They are ruins that are hard to sort of make any sense of, but the archaeologists have worked and historians have worked, and this reconstruction, this model of the Temple of Artemis, gives some impression of what it may have looked like when Paul was there. You have to understand this is 4 times the size of the Parthenon in Athens. And most people are quite impressed with the beauty and the symmetry and everything of the Parthenon. Parthenon's not on that list. It's not one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. But the Artemis Temple in Ephesus was. And we know what it looks like, not only from the standpoint of archaeology, but inside this temple was an image of Artemis herself. One of the coins, some of the coins will show a depiction of the facade, the front of the temple, with the image of Artemis portrayed in the background, such as in this coin on the left. The other artifact is a small, it's fairly short, it's about 8 feet tall, an image of Artemis that was found in another location. So this was the focus of the worship of the people of Ephesus. Great is Artemis of the Ephesians. And Paul gets caught up in the turmoil associated with the success of the gospel in this town. Ephesus was a great city, and Paul ends up staying there for over 2 years in his ministry. Paul's mission work certainly took him to a number of places, and he would stay at places and then feel compelled, or the Lord would direct him to go elsewhere. Eventually, of course, he leaves the city of Corinth and he goes to Ephesus. But he stops briefly at Ephesus, and the Bible narrates, Paul, having remained many days longer, referring to Corinth, took leave of the brethren and put out to sea for Syria, and with him were Priscilla and Aquila. In Cenchrea, he had his hair cut, for he was keeping a vow. They came to Ephesus, and he left them